All right, welcome to the Publishing Profits Podcast Show. Our guest today is Jordan Gregg. Jordan is a #1 Amazon best-selling author of several books, including The Introvert's Guide to Dating, and he's kind of like my relationship guru. He's a guy I look up to for relationship advice, and I kind of liken him to Will Smith's character Hitch from the movie Hitch. He's just like this brilliant genius when it comes to relationships. Every time I've asked him a question or had a problem, he just has this really insightful advice to add, and he's a very successful relationship coach and author. So welcome to the show, Jordan.
Thanks so much for having me, Tom. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So let's talk about relationships. You're a relationship coach, obviously.
Yeah.
What do you think is the most important relationship that people have in their lives, and how do they manage that better?
I'm heavily biased, but I definitely think that our intimate relationship, our romantic relationship, is by far the most important one that we have in our lives. No matter what friendships or familial relationships have affected us throughout our path, it's our partner that is there, day by day, side by side, that is your cheerleader and therapist and business strategist, and they're just totally your right-hand person. And the way that they affect your emotional state affects everything in your life, from your business to your health to absolutely everything. So yeah, far and beyond your intimate partner.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know you work with like a lot of CEOs and business people, and maybe their spouse is not as successful or as out there in the world. How do you help people manage those relationships, and how do they get the most out of those relationships?
I have a bit of both. Yeah, definitely. I work with entrepreneurs and CEOs primarily, um, and I have maybe like a 60-40 mix of people that have partners that are just as driven or almost as driven as they are and have their own businesses or their own side projects. And then maybe 40% of the time, it's partners that, yeah, it is much more of a supporting role partnership. And what was the question? How do you get the most out of those relationships?
Yeah, like how do you? I mean, because there can be this kind of imbalance there. Like if one partner feels like, oh, well, I'm the author, I'm the entrepreneur, I'm making the money, and the other author is like, or the other spouse is like, taking care of the house.
Right.
Um, in our society, we don't really value that caretaking, supportive role nearly as much as we value that role of the person who's out there doing it and making the money.
True. Yeah, I think that just, on an individual level, recognizing that each of you are both bringing very different but very real kinds of value to the relationship, and regardless of what the societal dogma says, as long as you and yourself are congruent enough and consistent in that belief that, like maybe I'm better at bringing this form of energy to our relationship, energy being money, and you're better at the loving, nurturing side, like one isn't more valuable than the other, regardless of what media or society tells us. So as long as you believe that it's just as valuable, then your partner will, it's that bleed through effect that if you're congruent with it, then they'll believe it too. But if you secretly on some level feel like I'm the one that's bringing more to this relationship, and that resentment will start to kind of seep through and they'll sense that. So as long as you believe it, doesn't matter what society tells you.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah, that's true. What I've noticed in almost everything I've done is that it's like if I listen to my inner voice, my inner intuition, my guidance, like it's okay. But the second I start listening to what other people are saying about, this is how it should be or this is the way you need to do things, that's when, the guilt comes up, the shame comes up, the anger, resentment, whatever those emotions are, and that can totally ruin relationships, whether it's, an intimate relationship or a business partnership or any kind of relationship.
I think it's one of those kind of should thinking beliefs of, oh, like the one that brings this to the relationship is the more important or valuable one, that we live in this kind of like overly masculine culture that primarily values what you're doing as opposed to what you're being. And if what you've done is create this empire and it brings revenue, like I've absolutely had a bunch of really countless clients that were serial entrepreneurs, financially very successful, and it doesn't matter if you're making $1 million a month. If your emotional and relational life isn't in line, then like that money really doesn't save you in terms of happiness. So, on the flip side, you could say that the kind of emotive, more nurturing, supportive partner could be bringing more value to that person than their bank account is, like by a multiple.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. There's a lot more to life than money. I mean, money's awesome, don't get me wrong, but
It's a
when it comes to
tool.
being happy in a relationship that like really supports you and works awesome, I'd give the money away for a heartbeat for that.
Exactly. What
Yeah.
was, I can't remember what your partner said. She was Chief Mothering Officer. What was her title?
Yeah,
CMO?
she calls herself CMO, my Chief Mothering Officer.
I love that.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's definitely my rock and supports me in ways I never could have imagined. We talk about, I don't know if you ever heard of human design.
Mm,
It's
no.
just so like weird. I don't even know if it's scientific or pseudoscientific or whatever, but it's this interesting concept that people have these different personality types based on like when you're born or zodiac symbols or something like that.
Mm,
Anyways, mine is like a manifestor and she's a generator. So in that human design system, my spouse Lori, she's the one who gives me the energy and generates the energy and supports me emotionally. And I'm
mm,
like the manifestor. I'm like the one who just like gets it done. Like if I get an idea, I just go like implement right away. I write right away. I do whatever. And it's funny just how it just totally matches up with our reality where like I can go real hard, but then when I crash, I need time to rest and relax and take my mind off work. Like without her, it'd be so much harder to get all the work done because she like totally supports me and rejuvenates me. So it's just really interesting, way that our relationship has evolved.
I love that. That couldn't be more exactly what my relationship is. I wouldn't be surprised if me and my girlfriend are the exact same things because, yeah, there have been weeks where she'll just like charge me up so fully. Like we recently went on a 4.5 day vacation where we fully unplugged, no Wi-Fi, cell phones, computer, no work. I still brought a journal with me so I could write things down if I needed to. And she charged me up so like crazy efficiently that our first 3 days back, I wrote an entire book and just launched it to number one again, largely
Yeah,
because of the stuff that I learned from you.
awesome.
And
Congrats.
and I had people being like, "How is that even possible? Like, how do you write a book in less than a week and like make it go to number one like so fast?" I'm like, honestly, Amy, like, if it hadn't been for my girlfriend and like that, just so deeply fulfilling energy. That's like kind of I always picture it like, in like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's like that bottom foundational level that, like you said, I can charge myself up to a certain limited ceiling. Like, oh, I can go to the gym, I can meditate, I can read fiction books, I can play guitar, I can do things that I know recharge me. But like it's such a force multiplier that, my partner can charge me up so much faster that when I get back to a computer, like writing a book in a handful of days, like I can't not do it. 'Cause I'm like, oh, I'm just so ready with all this energy. But yeah,
Mm.
that's like the ultimate entrepreneurial life hack is, a lot of guys think, okay, well, a lot of people, not just guys, think, oh, I'll start investing in my relationship more, or I'll look for a relationship once I'm at X level, like once I'm at 10K a month, once I'm at six figures. Um, and I think it's just such a backwards way of thinking. It's like, no, if you focus on your relational life first, that gives you the foundation that will get you to that milestone so much faster because, you're like this supercar that has super fuel in it versus yours a supercar with like sugar water in it. Like just they're completely different. Anyways, and Brant.
Definitely, man. This is so true, and I think it's such an important topic to talk about for authors, entrepreneurs, for anyone, because a lot of times when I'm like I have coaching clients, I know you do too, and it's like sometimes it's like so obvious that like the problem with their business is nothing to do with their business, right? It's like their personal life
Yep,
comes in there, and as entrepreneurs, as authors, as creative artists, our emotions, our relationships, our social life totally affects our work life. And if we don't have, everything else in balance and in order, it's really hard to get work that's actually great and powerful and actually makes a difference out there in the world.
totally. I can't remember who the quote came from, but you might know this because I think it's a semi-known author. Someone who said, if you want to work on your art, work on your life. I've always
I don't
attributed that
know.
in writing world. It's like it's so true. Yeah, whenever I feel like when I sit down to write, I'm like, okay, just 1,000 words, come on, just a little bit, and nothing's coming. It's like I either have to like go cuddle with my girlfriend or go for a run. It's like it's never about the writing. It's just that like I'm stuck because some energy within me needs to move.
Absolutely, that's so true. Yeah, so let's talk about productivity a little bit. And I know obviously relationships, like we're just talking about, relationships are key to productivity because, if you're in a fight with your spouse, it's going to be really hard to go and do the good work that you want to do, right? So,
Definitely.
but I know like you talked about, writing a book in 3 days, and I know I think last year how many books did you write? Five, six, seven books or something?
I've written 8 books in the last year and a half.
Yeah, so that's awesome. And I know a lot of authors would be like they want that kind of productivity and success. So what are some of the tips and secrets that you've learned along the way to help you do that?
I, according to a lot of people, I put out a fairly dense or like fairly large body of work, a lot of volume of content. I've put out about 150 articles, 8 books, like 4 video courses just in the last year and a half. Um, and for me, and this is like such an individual thing, I think that everyone has to find their kind of rhythms when it comes to their creative process. But for me, something that's been absolutely vital is I get my best writing done, not necessarily all my creative work, but writing for sure, before sunrise. So I wake up at 4 a.m. without an alarm clock. I don't like alarm clocks. They put me in a weird headspace. So I wake up at 4 a.m. It's where I live. It's still totally dark, and I'll have at least 2.5 hours of darkness until 6:30. So it's completely dark. It's really quiet. Even with it being completely quiet, I do a few things to like kind of mess with my brain. I write with the dimmest setting on my computer screen. I use Gunnar Glasses, which kind of make your vision a bit higher contrast and also block the blue light, so you can write with them at night too if you get hit with a big jolt of energy and don't want to mess with your sleep cycles.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
kind of they're pretty
they're
awesome.
so good. I love them. I'm addicted to them. And then auditorily, I listen to binaural beats, which there's a lot of people have heard of those. They give different frequencies into each of your ears. So there's like a concentration binaural beat. There's also a website called focus@well.com that you can look up stuff for. And then over top of the earbuds that I have, I also put construction ear covers over my ears, and they block out. They're negative 33 decibels. So even though it's already very silent outside, I live in Vancouver, Canada, in a somewhat major city, and just in case, like a fire truck or a siren goes by, I want to have my head be like a brick fortress. Like there's no distractions coming up for me between 4 and 6:30. My girlfriend, she never wakes up as early as I do, so it wouldn't be a problem. Like she knows if she woke up, she wouldn't, come and talk to me during those 2 hours. Like that's my I'm very in the zone mode. So yeah, writing when it's dark, quiet, construction ear covers, which by the way you can pick up for like $15 at any hardware store. They're super cheap. They also work wonders if you ever want to do writing on an airplane. I don't like the engine noise. By the way, if you can already tell from Tom mentioning my Introvert's Guide to Dating, I'm definitely an introvert, so I like lower stimulation environments, which is why I wake up at 4 a.m. and write in the dark. If a total extrovert's listening to this, they might do way better, in a loud, bustling coffee shop in the middle of the day when it's bright. That sounds like a nightmare to me, but if that works for you, then, you got to find your own thing.
Yeah, honestly, that's great advice. Just find your own thing, find your own time of day. I mean, I've noticed with working with so many clients that, some authors like I'm also really productive, like 4 to 6 in the morning, or like really late at night, like when it's dark and no one else is awake.
Yeah.
There's no noise, there's nothing to distract me. That's when I'm most productive as well as a writer. But like you said, yeah, I mean, everyone is different. And I know some writers that they have to write at Starbucks or in a cafe. Like there's got to be people around and noise and stuff going on for them to be really creative. And there's no problem with that. It's just finding what works best for you and when you're most productive. And what I think is really fascinating about what you're saying is you're really only writing 2 hours a day, right?
Yeah, if that.
Yeah, and you write every single day?
I only schedule it Monday to Friday. I definitely do it Monday to Friday every morning. And Saturdays and Sundays, I don't schedule it, but it usually still happens to some capacity. I might not do the full 2 hours, but I think, as a lot of writers that are listening to this have probably experienced, once you give your creativity the permission to gain momentum, it's hard for me to not write something every day, because it's like, oh, here's an idea that you can't not write down. You're like, okay, you're right, I'll write this down. Whether it's in my phone when I'm out, like on a iPhone notepad, or I'm in the middle of the dinner, I'm like, oh, I have to go write this down. And my girlfriend's used to those little outbursts. But yeah, I think the more you kind of stoke that fire, the more it spits out little nuggets of gold that you just have to write.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's funny because it's amazing how productive you are with just 2 hours a day of writing, and not even 7 days a week every time. And I've noticed the same thing for me. When I first started writing, I used to think that the key to productivity is you got to write 6, 8 hours in a row and just have these huge cram sessions where you just going all out. And what I've realized is that I'm way more creative and way more productive with writing when it's just like 1 or 2 hours a day. And if I'm just consistent with that day after day after day, it's amazing. Like in a month, with just 2 hours a day, every single day, when you actually plan ahead, you know what you're going to write when you sit down to write, and you're like, you're just in that zone. You can just be so ridiculously productive. Whereas, when I was doing 6 to 8 hours a day, I was wasting half my time, like thinking, looking at a blank screen, and you're not really being productive. Like if you're sitting at the computer and you're writing, but you're not actually writing like really fast, you're not actually writing. You're not in that right state to be writing at the time. And at least that's just my personal experience, and everyone has got their own totally different writing style, but for me, that is the key. It's not about how much can I write in one day, it's about how consistently can I get myself to write every day. And if I do that, the writing takes care of itself. Even if it's just an hour or two, even just 30 minutes a day, I can get so much done if I'm really in that zone.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like that kind of quality versus quantity argument of you're having really, relatively dense quality sessions for that 1 or 2 hours versus, okay, I'm at my computer for 8 hours, but I think even like moment to moment, our brains tie thoughts, emotions, habits, and patterns to locations. So if you start to get the feeling of, even after, for me at least, even after 1 or 2 days of making myself sit at a computer for 8 hours trying to write, every moment I'm basically teaching my brain, this is frustrating, this isn't fun, this is boring. Whereas if I'm on fire for an hour and then I let myself walk away, I'm even further reinforcing, you're so good at this, and like it all flows out of you effortlessly. And as long as I keep that window short, I forget, it's called something's law, but like basically a thing takes as long to complete as you give yourself. So you say, oh, I'll finish this video course 2 weeks from now, you'll make it work. Whereas if you say, I'll do the same course over 3 months, you'll also take that time. Exactly. So yeah, I really like that 1 or 2 hour block of like, oh, I'm gonna like have some quality writing time. Things are just gonna pour out of me, and then I can step away. And I feel like a writer's brain is never fully off. Like I'm still thinking about things in the back of my mind when I'm going for a walk, when I'm on a date. Not that I'm like perpetually, completely distracted, but your subconscious mind's always kind of like working away on those things. Like, yeah, like that'll be good to write when I sit right down to my computer.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think also another huge benefit of having that short period of time to write is that you don't feel like you have to spend all day there. Like it's like a joy to go write because every time you're writing, you're excited about it, you're passionate about it, and it's not something like, well, I have to go clock in at my job for 8 hours, and just like go brain dead because I can't stand it. When you enjoy the process, you don't need a ton of time to get a lot of work done because you're just in that state of flow and you're cranking it out. And then the rest of your day, you can totally be thinking about it, coming up with ideas, working on marketing, whatever you want to do, and still be a really insanely productive person.
Yeah, and it's easier to sit down each time the more you remember that, like, yeah, this is basically always fun 100% of the time. You're compelled to sit down, not cornered into it and like, oh, I should do this thing now, versus like, let me at it, I want my keyboard back.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, man. Yeah. So, all right. So let's talk about your marketing then for a second, because I know I've been talking to a lot of listeners of the show, and they always want to know, I want more marketing tips. I want more marketing tips. So, how did you get your new book now you just released down to #1 so quickly?
This one was relatively simple. It was a short book. It was about 40 pages. And what did I do? So I split tested the cover, which surprisingly I had never done even a single time, even though I had 3 or 4 of my previous 7. I think I had 4 #1 bestsellers. With all of them, I didn't split test the cover at all. I just thought, oh, like this is something that my brain likes. I'm going to put this out there and see what happens. So yeah, with this one, I had 3 covers mocked up. I split tested them among a bunch of the people that I knew would be buyers that were very in the demographic. I didn't do the KDP free promo this time. It's the first time I haven't done that with a book that I knew was going to be Amazon only, just because I was kind of being lazy with it. I was like, oh, if it hits #1, it'll hit #1. And basically I picked a date. I lined it up between Buck Books and 2 of my friends that have email lists in the relationship space. I had them all mail out on the same day. The book was 99 cents to encourage downloads. And in fairly competitive categories, like love and romance was one of them, and then I think self-help and psychology were other ones. But yeah, Love and Romance especially is fairly competitive. And yeah, it hit #1 in the US and Canada pretty quickly with, I think I had less than 1,000 downloads. So I don't know, it was just a big jolt of sales. And it had only been on Amazon for 3 or 4 days at that point. I only had 3 reviews. Like it was very, a small, underwhelming launch, but I think I got the right people to mail for it. I didn't bother with the Twitter accounts and Facebook groups this time. I just said, you know what, I'm going to go for the big wins. If that pans out, then great. If not, then oh well, I learned a lesson for next time. And yeah, it went well. And it's been about 2 weeks since that launch, and it's still hovering around #4. So it's in the top 10. It's still got good visibility.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's amazing how like just a few things when it comes to marketing can have 80%, 90% of the results, right?
Totally.
Like Books is huge, obviously. Having promotional partners email is huge. I know whenever I get like a book listed on BookBub, get like 1,000, 2,000 sales in a day. It's like, why did I even bother all the other marketing stuff? Like it didn't work nearly as well, but it doesn't work every time, so you can't rely on that. But one thing that does always work, in my experience, is promotional partners, right? So you mentioned you had some people in your space email to promote your book. So how did you build those relationships, and how did that process work?
So this might not apply to every industry, but for me, I don't like or agree with the vast majority of the people that write content in my space, like in the relationship industry, just because there's a lot of, I don't know, just like weirdness, manipulation, and stuff that doesn't come from a place of authenticity and integrity. So I don't like or network with or even try to network with the vast majority of the people in the space. So the 2 or 3 people that I do like the content of, because that's such a rare and exciting thing, it's never taken effort to be like, oh, I actually like your content. I probably like you as a person. Let's have a relationship, because I don't like 99% of the people in our space, but I do like you. So for me, just like the way that I market, it is a much more of that quality over quantity, sniper methodology versus like the shotgun spray and pray kind of thing that I see some marketers do in the same industry or different industries. And for me, it's like I would way rather, it's 80-20 rule. I'd way rather have 2 or 3 people that I believe in, feel good about them pitching my book to their list, than mailing 15 people that I know I don't like or agree with their stuff, and trying to build a relationship just for them to email me. Like for me, on my integrity level, that doesn't make sense, because even if they did mail for me, I'd be like, oh, do I really want their customers? Like, would I want people that if I don't resonate with them, then their people probably wouldn't resonate with me because I'm so different.
Yeah, that's a great point. Quality over quantity, I think, is so crucial in relationships, right? Like, do you want 10 spouses that are like mediocre, or do you just want like one that's like super awesome, right?
Yeah. Do you want to be kind of in love with a bunch of people, or do you want to have your entire world blown up by one person's heart?
Yeah, exactly, man. Totally. So, okay, so I think that's crucial. I think we should talk about this a little bit more because, and I'm sure the same way I get emails all the time from people who, basically just copy and paste some random thing that they want me to promote their course or product or book or whatever, and I can tell it's not authentic. I can tell they don't actually care about me or my message or my audience, and so obviously, I don't want to work with people like that. But every once in a while, I get that email from someone who okay, this person fully resonates with me. I get it. They've read my stuff or they read my articles. They at least kind of know who I am, and it might actually be a good fit to connect on Skype or a phone call and actually connect with this person and see if we actually want to work together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have that exact same thing I'm the sex and relationships editor for this website called the Good Men Project, and I get pitched from people a dozen times a day, like, hey, do you want to put this article up on your site? Like people pitching content, because their site does way more traffic than my personal site does. They do 4 or 5 million visitors a month, and I'm still 6 figures on my personal site of visitors. And yeah, I can safely ignore about 80% of the pitches, but when it's such a huge difference when those pitches come in that I'm excited by. I actually tell people this is the best pitch that I've gotten in months. Thank you for writing in. When people do their homework and they know who they're talking to, what the brand messaging is, whether or not they're congruent fit, and making something that's basically actually valuable to you, it's just such a no-brainer. But yeah, when they don't do their homework and it's copy and paste thing, I have no problem, setting a boundary with that, or even not even replying. So like, if you're not putting effort into your pitch, then why would I put effort into a rejection?
Mm, definitely. Yeah, so what are some tips for building like awesome, whether joint promotional partnerships or business partnerships that actually work?
I'm probably going to give a bit of a like blue balls answer because here's something that I wish I'd heard when I was starting out. Um, I have never really, this could be a limiting belief, I never really considered myself a marketer. I knew that I wanted to put out really good content. Like I'm a writer and I'm a relationship coach. Like I do coaching one-on-one with people via Skype. And a lot of the like more traditional elements of marketing, like learning PPC ads and I don't know, anything to do with like spreadsheets or numbers or tracking stuff, I don't get lit up or excited by that stuff. And so I did learn it absolutely, and I think everyone should do this. I learned it to the extent that it would not hold me back. Like I'm aware of it, so I can outsource it properly and know what I'm talking about. But I never wanted to become an expert in marketing like I did with relationship coaching or to a lesser degree with writing. And so overall, my marketing methodology has basically been, okay, how do I do my things so well? Like how do I write such good content that people can't not share it? So like content marketing for me has been almost everything. Like my 150 articles, that might sound like a decent amount of volume to put out over a year and a half, but I put a lot of effort into each one of those. Like I split test headlines. They go like the virality, like the average virality of each of my posts is so high that that's like the only reason why my SEO profile is as good as it is. And like I'm beating out sites that have been around for a decade longer than mine. Just because if you make good stuff and you are a valuable person, people will like seek you out and find you, and they'll be pitching you to mail for your stuff, as opposed to how do I really get in there and nickel and dime people on affiliate commissions. It's like people will want to support you because they'll be like, you've already helped my life so much. And Tom, you're a perfect example of this. Like if like you are easily in the last 2 years of my life, you're one of the top 5 like business mentors that I've learned from. That if you were to say like, oh, could you do some social media posts with this new book that might have some overlap with relationships? It's like regardless of whether I liked it or not, or if I thought it was well written, it would be both those things because it came from you. But I wouldn't even scan the PDF. I'd be like, yep, you're Tom, so of course. And I think being that kind of person in people's lives, people will like trip over themselves to find a way to support you or market for you. So that's how you find awesome JP partners.
That's such a great point, man. That's just like that's exactly what I think I needed to hear, and I think a lot of our listeners need to hear too. We can spend so much time worrying about what other people in the industry are doing, and who's promoting my book, and who's supporting my work, and who's writing reviews for my book, and all this kind of marketing stuff, which is it's important, but when you compare it to the importance of creating awesome work and being inspired by what you do, and working with people you actually like you said are authentic and resonate with your values, that is way more important in the long run.
Totally.
Awesome, man. That was brilliant. This is definitely one of the best interviews we've done in a while. So thanks so much for being here. Tell us before you go where people can find out more info about you and what you're up to.
Sure. So the main hub is my personal website, jordangrayconsulting.com, JORDANGRAY consulting.com. I've got books, video courses, one-on-one coaching there. I've got a ton of blog posts you can scan through. And then I also, if you Amazon Jordan Gray, I'm the top match. Out of my 8 books, I think 5 of them are on Amazon. 3 of them are just my personal site. But yeah, jordangrayconsulting.com, and look me up on Amazon. You can find 90% of all the work I've done the last 2 years up on there to improve your dating life, relationship, marriage, sex life, all that good stuff.
Awesome, Jordan. Thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Tom.